I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but it would be really funny if it were, because I know the Joe Biden White House staffers hate the Kamala Harris staffers. There's a lot of beef between the two coalitions within the Democrat Party. Obviously, the whole Joe Biden camp knows they got knifed. So you have to wonder if Joe Biden's pulling some of these moves to spite some of the Kamala Harris people. The Trump hat thing, saying, oh, no, Ron DeSantis, we had a good chat before.
He did that. He appeared in the briefing room spontaneously and was like, she was involved in all kinds of things. She was deeply involved in my administration, despite the fact that she's desperately trying to distance herself.
Like the opposite of what they're trying to do. And this old man Biden, I'm growing a soft spot for him after he decided to drop out.
I mean, he's very different now that he is in legacy building. I do not have a future in politics mode. I mean, I don't trust him at all. On the other hand, it is much funnier watching him basically throw small jabs at Kamala Harris every time she tries to pretend that he doesn't exist.
I like Joe Biden now.
I think he's just being his old ruthless self. I think he's been a ruthless politician
I think so too.
His entire life, and now he's got this geriatric routine that he can run.
And he's not seeking another term.
He
can be ruthless without facing any kind of consequence.
Right.
I saw this, okay? Where was I? I was in, where were we just hanging out? Pittsburgh. We were in Pittsburgh. And because we went to the Butler rally. And on the way back, you guys know I'm a big poker player, so we took a stop over at Rivers. And you got to walk through security. And as we're walking out, an old man walks through the exit as the security guard woman is yelling at him, and he just keeps going. Beeline straight for the casino. And you knew when you saw him that this guy could hear her. He was not some bumbling old man confused. He just didn't want to go through security and then to chase him down. And I feel kind of like that's what Joe Biden's doing right now. Do you guys remember when Johnny Knoxville did that Jackass thing where he fakes being an old person and then tries getting away with crazy shenanigans because he's an old guy? I think at this point, Biden's just he's checked out. He's a ruthless politician, but now he's got the fumbling, bumbling Joe. You know what? I'm going to roll with it. I'll play into it.
I mean, Kamala tried to stab him in the back, and he's going down and trying to distance herself from him, and he's bear hugging her, taking him down with her.
I loved it when he put on the Trump hat.
Yeah,
he said, you are my VP, and you do not thrive without me. I mean, again, I don't have any sympathy for Joe Biden, but the DNC threw him a funeral and shipped him off to California only to end up with Kamala Harris there. And there is so clearly tension between the two of them. It is becoming the new best reality show in America if you're looking at it.
I don't know why. I just remembered the horrible trade deal Biden got us in with Russia for the WNBA player, for that Russian arms dealer, Victor Boot, who's now working again. So actually, I take that all back.
It was Brittany Griner, right?
Brittany Griner, worst trade deal in history ever, and now this guy's back to being an arms dealer and selling arms to Yemen.
Biden was.
It's funny because I know, and that's literally the Red Sea conflict. I'm seeing these Democrats. They're like, what wars have Joe Biden got us into? And it's like, well, I mean, we're funding the Ukraine war, and there's U.S. special forces in Europe. There's U.S. troops being deployed to Europe over the war in Ukraine. We're funding that. Then we've got the Israel conflict where we tried to build a pier in Gaza, and we've sent 358 million to Lebanon over their humanitarian crisis, which I don't know where that money's coming from. So we are deeply involved in a lot of these wars, but largely the official operation in the United States that you could call a limited war is the operation in the Red Sea over the Houthi rebels. So we had to get back this basketball player who had a pot vape? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was
allegedly.
And a vape pen. And look, I don't want to see Brittany Griner locked up in Russia. I'm not a fan of what Russia does or what they're doing. Okay. But you don't trade the merchant of death, which they call the guy, for a basketball player. It's just a bad deal. You said the worst trade deal ever. It's just funny because it's literally a sports trade deal. It's like, well, okay, we want the basketball player back, and you can have the arms dealer who is now arming rebels.
Well, moreover, this just encourages more bad behavior. Now that Putin sees he's only going to take more advantage of us. He got out one of his top guys. There was another trade deal with a
bigger
German
prisoner swap later, and this was a huge deal because we got all kinds of Americans back, right? But
including
we also
journalist
gave
Evan
up
Gershkovich.
We got back Paul Whelan. There were several. But we gave up so many people, and most of the people who were wrongfully detained in Russia that we got back were taken into Russian custody during Biden's administration, which means that Russia was like, we sense weakness in the water. As far as I remember, of the 4 Americans who we got released, only Paul Whelan had been detained, not under Biden. So what does that say to you? That not only was Biden, his presence in the White House seemed to communicate some sort of weakness on the negotiating table, but then he followed through by being weak at the negotiating table. I just don't think this is what we want here. And I do not think that Kamala Harris communicates anything more effective on the global stage. I don't know how you feel about it. Do you think Kamala Harris is our future power negotiator on behalf of all people in the world?
I'm just worried that she is going to be influenced by the establishment, the military-industrial complex, whatever you want to call it, because she doesn't seem to me to have any core principles. That's what really, really, really concerns me.
You don't believe her when she says, but my values haven't changed.
No, I don't, because I think your values change all the time with whatever's politically expedient.
But what about Trump? And I hate to do the what about, but do you feel Trump is any better off in that circumstance?
Trump, to me, from what I can tell, doesn't like foreign wars, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember us getting into a war during his presidency. I remember him assassinating the Iranian head of, Quds or whatever.
Yeah, Qasem Soleimani.
Yeah, the guy he assassinated. But he's curiously, I think, of that sort of isolationist school, which I welcome. My entire life, I think the United States has been involved in some kind of war. And I think, right now, I think things could spin out of control and you could get World War III. I hope not, right? I hope that's just like crazy speculation, but you got a hot war in the Middle East. You've got the Ukrainians pushing into Russia, and, the stuff.
And the Red Sea shutting down shipping. I mean, the Houthi rebels in the Red Sea.
What is she going to do about that?
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.